They told you it would never happen. They laughed when her name came up. They rolled their eyes, called it a fantasy booking and said she was never that girl. And yet, Liv Morgan just won the 2026 Royal Rumble. Let that sit for a second. Because if that sentence makes you angry, confused, or already typing a comment, you're exactly who this video is for. How many times have we heard it? She's too small. She's not believable. She's not championship material. She's good, but not that good. So here's the question nobody wants to answer honestly: if Liv Morgan isn't worthy of winning the Royal Rumble, then who decided that? Because 2026 didn't just crown a winner. It exposed the ugliest truth in modern wrestling fandom. The Royal Rumble match didn't start with fireworks. It started with tension. From the first buzzer, you could feel it. This wasn't going to be a safe, predictable Rumble. This wasn't built for comfort. It was built to challenge everything fans think they know about deserving. And when Liv Morgan's music hit, listen carefully because history will remember this moment. Half the crowd erupted, the other half groaned. Not silence, not indifference, resistance. Isn't that interesting? Why is it that some superstars walk out and get instant respect, while others have to fight for permission to exist at the top? Drop this in the comments right now. Did you cheer or groan when Liv entered the Rumble? Be honest, because your answer says more than you think. Liv didn't sprint to the ring like she had something to prove. She walked, calm, focused, eyes locked forward. That alone should have scared people. This wasn't the Liv Morgan of years past, the wide-eyed underdog hoping for a miracle. This was someone who expected violence. Someone who came prepared to survive. And survive she did. From the opening exchanges, Liv was targeted, not because she was weak but because everyone knew what happens if you let her hang around too long. That's the irony, isn't it? Fans say she's not a threat, yet the locker room treats her like one. Why do you think that is? Midway through the match, the Rumble turned brutal, bodies flying, alliances breaking, elimination after elimination, and every time the camera cut back to Liv Morgan, she was still there, clutching the ropes, rolling under attacks, outlasting people who were supposed to go further. Here's another question for you: at what point did you realize Liv might actually win this? Was it when she outlasted former champions? When she countered a power move that should have ended her night? Or when she stared down a fresh entrant without flinching? Because denial is powerful but reality always catches up. Let's talk about something fans hate admitting. The Royal Rumble isn't just about strength. It's about timing, instinct, endurance, and intelligence. And Liv Morgan wrestled this match like a chess player surrounded by checkers. She picked her moments. She let the chaos work for her. She watched eliminations happen without panicking. Meanwhile, fan favorites were getting tossed left and right. And every elimination hurt more. Because the closer we got to the final stretch, the harder it became to deny the truth. Liv Morgan belonged here. So I want you to answer this honestly: is the Royal Rumble about who's strongest or who survives? Because those aren't the same thing. When the final six were revealed, the atmosphere changed. This is where the crowd usually settles into expectation. This is where the obvious winner takes control. Except, nothing was obvious anymore. Liv stood there, bruised, breathing heavy, staring across the ring at superstars who had everything: size, accolades, reputation. And none of that scared her. In fact, she smiled. That smile wasn't confidence. It was defiance. One by one, the field collapsed. A mistimed charge, a betrayal, a shocking counter. Every elimination made the crowd louder and angrier. Because now the possibility was real. Liv Morgan wasn't surviving anymore. She was contending. So here's the question everyone avoided until it was too late: why does it bother some fans when an underdog stops being an underdog? Why do we cheer the chase but reject the arrival? Final four. This is where legends are made or exposed. And Liv didn't hide. She took the fight directly to her opponents. She absorbed punishment that would have broken others. She refused to let go of the ropes no matter how many hands tried to pry her loose. Then it happened. The elimination that flipped the entire arena on its head. A favorite, someone fans were sure would win, was gone. And Liv Morgan was responsible. The reaction? Shock, anger, cheers, boos, perfect chaos. Because nothing fuels wrestling like division. Final two. Let that sink in. Liv Morgan. One last obstacle. No safety net. No excuses. Just history waiting to be written. The crowd was losing its mind, half screaming for it to end, half begging for it to happen. And here's something you need to think about. When was the last time a Royal Rumble finish felt this uncomfortable? Because discomfort means unpredictability. And unpredictability is what this match was built on. The final exchange was ugly. Not pretty wrestling. Not flashy sequences. Raw desperation. Both competitors clinging to the ropes. Both fighting exhaustion as much as each other. Then one mistake. One shift in balance. One moment too slow. And suddenly, it was over. Liv Morgan stood alone in the ring. No music at first. No immediate celebration. Just silence. The kind of silence that happens when reality hits harder than expectation. And then the announcement. Here is your winner of the 2026 Royal Rumble, Liv Morgan. History. Now let's talk about the aftermath. Because winning the Rumble isn't just about pointing at the WrestleMania sign. It's about the conversation that follows. And oh, the conversation followed. Social media exploded. Timelines melted. Arguments ignited. Some called it inspiring. Some called it insulting. Some called it the end of credibility. So here's the question that matters most: why does Liv Morgan winning feel like a threat to some fans? Because nobody complains when their favorite wins. They complain when the hierarchy changes. Liv didn't cry. She didn't over-celebrate. She pointed at the sign and then at the crowd. Almost like she was saying, you did this. Every cheer, every doubt, every time she was overlooked. This one wasn't handed to her. It was endured. And now comes the real chaos. WrestleMania implications. Championship fears. Locker room tension. Because Liv Morgan didn't just earn a title shot. She forced the entire division to recalibrate. No more excuses. No more underestimating. No more pretending she's just lucky. So answer this in the comments: who should Liv Morgan face at WrestleMania 2026 and why? And don't give the safe answer. Give the honest one. Whether you loved it or hated it, one thing is undeniable. The 2026 Royal Rumble will be remembered, not for surprises, not for returns, but for a win that exposed how fragile wrestling expectations really are. Liv Morgan didn't break the system. She proved it was already cracked. And now the only question left is this: was Liv Morgan's Royal Rumble win the most controversial victory in modern WWE history, or exactly what the division needed? Argue it, defend it, fight about it, because if you're angry, confused, or fired up, that means it worked. And the Rumble did exactly what it was supposed to do. If you made it this far, you already know. This wasn't just a match. It was a reckoning. And reckonings don't end when the bell stops ringing. They echo. Because the moment Liv Morgan climbed that turnbuckle and pointed at the WrestleMania sign, something snapped, not just in the ring, but in the fandom itself. You could see it on people's faces. Confusion, anger, fear. And that fear didn't come from Liv Morgan. It came from the realization that the future doesn't need permission anymore. Let's talk about the silence right after the win. Not the cheers, not the boos, the pause. That split second where even the loudest critics didn't know what to say. Because how do you argue with survival? How do you dismiss someone who outlasted 29 other competitors? You can scream bad booking all you want, but numbers don't lie. So here's a simple question you can't dodge: did Liv Morgan win because of luck, or because everyone else failed to eliminate her? Because those are two very different stories. Backstage cameras caught it all. Some superstars applauded. Some stared in disbelief. Some looked furious. And that tells you everything. Liv Morgan didn't just win a match, she disrupted the ecosystem. For years, the women's division has operated on an unspoken hierarchy. Certain names float to the top, certain faces are protected, certain outcomes feel expected. And Liv was never part of that plan. So ask yourself this: why do unplanned winners make wrestling feel real again? Because predictability is comfortable, but comfort is boring. Now let's rewind just a little. Because the seeds for this moment weren't planted in 2026. They were planted every time Liv lost a big one. Every time she was written off as transitional. Every time fans said she's almost there. How long is almost supposed to last? At some point, surviving long enough becomes the story. And that's exactly what happened at the Royal Rumble. Think about the eliminations again. Liv wasn't tossing people out with brute force. She wasn't overpowering giants. She was outthinking them. Waiting for arrogance. Capitalizing on mistakes. Letting stronger opponents beat themselves. Isn't that how underdogs are supposed to win? Or do we only accept underdog victories when they fit a certain look? Go ahead, answer this honestly. Would this reaction exist if Liv Morgan looked different? Uncomfortable question, necessary question. As the replay packages rolled, something else became clear. Liv Morgan wasn't avoiding danger. She was absorbing it. Her body told the story: scratches, bruises, exhaustion etched into every movement. This wasn't a fluke. This was a war of attrition. And she won it. Then came the post-match interviews. Questions loaded with skepticism. Compliments wrapped in doubt. Did you expect to win? Do you feel ready? Can you really headline WrestleMania? Notice how nobody asks those questions when certain stars win. So here's another one for you: why does Liv Morgan have to prove herself after winning the Royal Rumble? Isn't the win supposed to be the proof? Let's talk about WrestleMania pressure. Because the Rumble winner doesn't just earn a title shot, they inherit expectations. And for Liv Morgan, those expectations are brutal. She's not just representing herself. She's representing every wrestler fans said wasn't enough. Every overlooked talent. Every slow burn career. Every maybe someday. That's a heavy crown to wear. And some fans already want it ripped off her head. Why? Because patience scares people. Fantasy booking exploded overnight. People scrambling to reassert control. She should lose at Mania. She was only meant to shock. This is where it ends. Isn't it fascinating how quickly celebration turns into damage control? So answer this: why do fans rush to limit a story before it even finishes? Why not let it play out? Unless you're afraid of the ending. The champions are watching now. Whoever holds gold knows one thing: Liv Morgan doesn't go away. She doesn't disappear when things get hard. She doesn't fold under pressure. She waits. And waiting is dangerous. Because eventually opportunity meets preparation. That's not luck. That's inevitability. The 2026 Royal Rumble will age like fire. At first, it burns. It irritates. It divides. But years from now, people will look back and say, that was the moment things changed. And the loudest critics today, they'll pretend they always believed. They always do. So let's end with this not as a statement, but as a challenge. Drop your answer below and don't sugarcoat it. Did Liv Morgan earn this Royal Rumble win, or are you just uncomfortable with who earned it? Because wrestling isn't about protecting your favorites. It's about watching the fight unfold. And at Royal Rumble 2026, Liv Morgan fought, and the entire industry felt it.